Hey guys! Tonight, we leave behind smooth highways, cheap flights, GPS navigation, and the magical ability to complain about delayed food delivery while sitting comfortably in air conditioning. Instead, you find yourself standing on a dusty, ancient road somewhere far from home, staring at a horizon that already looks exhausting. Your shoes are thin, your bag is heavy, and the nearest reliable toilet exists only in your imagination. The wind carries the smell of wet animals and smoke, and somewhere in the distance, a cartwheel lets out a noise that sounds suspiciously like a dying spirit. Honestly, you probably won't survive this. Not because ancient travel is exciting or adventurous, but because it is relentlessly uncomfortable in ways modern people are simply not emotionally prepared for. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're settling in tonight, comment your location and local time. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You stand beside a road that is barely a road at all. It is more of a suggestion, a long scar of compacted dirt winding through forests, muddy fields, and distant villages. The first thing you notice is the silence. Not peaceful silence, unfortunately. The tense kind. The kind where every distant sound makes you wonder whether it belongs to another traveler or someone who would prefer your belongings become their belongings. Your journey begins on foot, because for most people throughout history, walking is the only realistic option. Horses are expensive, wagons are expensive, even decent sandals can cost more than you expect. So, your legs become your transportation system, which sounds romantic until about the third hour. By midday, your shoulders ache from carrying supplies. Your back feels twisted. Tiny stones somehow find ways into your shoes no matter how often you stop. And stopping matters because ancient roads are rough enough to slowly destroy your feet. Blisters form quickly. Cuts become infected easily. A simple twisted ankle can become a serious problem when the nearest healer is 2 villages away and mostly specializes in questionable herbal soup. One mainstream historical fact often forgotten is that ancient and medieval people usually traveled far less than modern humans. Many people never went farther than a few miles from where they were born. Travel was expensive, dangerous, slow, and physically draining. Even merchants and messengers who traveled regularly accepted suffering as part of daily life. And suffering arrives quickly. The road itself changes constantly beneath your feet. Dry dust in one stretch, sticky mud in another, sharp gravel after that. Sometimes tree roots twist across the path like traps designed by nature itself. There are no smooth sidewalks, no convenient rest stops, no little gas station where you can buy neon-colored energy drinks and regret your choices later. Instead, you pause beside wells, rivers, or roadside shrines where exhausted travelers gather silently. Everyone looks tired. Nobody smells particularly encouraging. A strange detail historians often mention is how travelers sometimes carried portable cooking pots everywhere they went. Imagine hiking for 10 hours, setting up a tiny fire beside the road, and proudly preparing what is essentially medieval sadness stew, usually involving old vegetables, stale grains, or meat of questionable origin. You quickly realize ancient travel is not about adventure. It is about endurance. At sunset, your problems become worse. Darkness changes everything. Modern people underestimate how terrifying true darkness used to be. Without electric lights, roads vanish almost completely at night. Forests become walls of blackness. Every sound feels larger. Even familiar paths become dangerous. So most travelers desperately try reaching shelter before dark. Unfortunately, shelter is rarely pleasant. The small roadside inn ahead looks promising from a distance, but closer inspection reveals warped wooden walls, muddy floors, and several chickens wandering inside with complete confidence. The innkeeper barely acknowledges you before demanding payment. Privacy does not exist here. You sleep in a crowded room beside strangers who snore, cough, mutter in their sleep, and occasionally scratch themselves in ways that suggest entire civilizations of fleas live beneath their clothing. Scholars still argue whether medieval inns were truly as chaotic as popular culture suggests, because surviving accounts vary wildly depending on region and class. Wealthier travelers describe some inns as reasonably comfortable, while poorer travelers often experience conditions closer to organized suffering. You fall asleep anyway because exhaustion wins. For a few hours. Then, somebody starts arguing downstairs. Maybe gambling, maybe drinking, maybe accusing someone of stealing bread. You cannot tell. The walls are thin enough to hear everything except the actual important details.
By morning, your body feels worse than before you rested. This becomes one of the hidden horrors of ancient travel. Recovery barely happens. Every day begins before yesterday's pain disappears. Your feet remain swollen, your shoulders stay sore, your sleep is poor, yet the road keeps demanding more. Outside, cold morning fog hangs low over the dirt path. A merchant caravan slowly passes nearby, wagons creaking loudly beneath heavy cargo. The oxen pulling them look deeply disappointed in life. You honestly relate to them. You continue walking. Hours blend together strangely on ancient roads. Without phones, music, or distractions, your thoughts drift constantly. Travelers historically spent enormous amounts of time simply existing with their own minds. Some prayed while walking, some sang, some memorized stories. Some probably stared at the horizon wondering why humanity invented trade routes in the first place. Occasionally you pass milestones, crude wooden signs, or tiny shrines marking dangerous locations. A broken wagon wheel lies abandoned beside the road. Nearby, scraps of cloth flutter from a branch where travelers have tied offerings for good luck. Because luck matters out here. In many ancient cultures, travelers were deeply superstitious. People carried charms, prayed to gods of roads and journeys, or avoided certain paths believed cursed. Sailors, merchants, and pilgrims all developed rituals meant to survive uncertain travel. When the world feels unpredictable, humans naturally search for patterns. And ancient roads feel very unpredictable. The weather changes suddenly. Wind pushes dust into your eyes. Light rain transforms sections of road into slippery mud within minutes. Your food grows damp. Your clothes cling uncomfortably to your skin. Yet strangely, this miserable rhythm slowly becomes normal. Step after step, village after village, you begin understanding why ancient journeys felt so enormous psychologically. Distance was not measured only in miles. It was measured in pain, uncertainty, weather, hunger, and time. And you have barely started.